Anyway, welcome to Not Man Enough Podcast, and we have got everyone in studio. It's shocking. I didn't think that we'd actually have everyone today.
I didn't. Yeah, no.
Yeah, so we got
all of us
Sam.
were on the fringe.
We got Matt. We've got Trent. I honestly, at one point, I thought it was going to be just me and Trent.
It seemed very likely at one point.
Yeah. Anyway, so glad to have everyone in. And Sam just bought a house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just bought a baby.
Yeah. From the hospital.
From the hospital. You know, they just give them out.
It is costing me a lot. That's for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so today's episode, we're going to do one on, so Francis Chan, we're going to react to a video that he did with Gavin Ortlund. And Gavin Ortlund, man, talk about a guy that, like, I love a lot of the things that he does, and then kind of some other things that he does. It's like he's almost like he gets some things right, and then some things it's just like, man, what's going on? But anyway, it's not so much about him doing this interview. I actually appreciate a lot of the things that Gavin Ortlund does. I appreciate actually a lot of things even said in this episode. So I would suggest that anybody, so that this isn't taken out of context, if you're listening to this episode, I would say go listen to the full episode of the Gavin Ortlund and Francis Chan. It's on Truth Unites. You can find it on YouTube or on any podcast, whatever. And there's an episode that just says Francis Chan and the Eucharist. I'd want you to have the full context of what we're saying, because we're going to kind of pick on some things that we think maybe aren't real helpful and maybe or could be a little dangerous. And we hadn't even talked about this before, really, what we think about it. But I just want to put that out there so that we're not like slandering these guys. Or I actually think that both these men mean well, and I think that they're both Christians, although a lot of people would kick them out of Christianity. But I just think that there are some errors here, and I think that there's some concerning comments. But anyway, this is just to give you a little bit of context about the video that we're about to look at. And I've got a few minute markers that we're going to react to. It's a 2-hour video, so we can't go through the whole thing. That's why we're not doing the whole thing. We're just going to kind of pick and choose some points, and that's why I say go listen to it. But Francis Chan, not that long ago, made a comment about the Eucharist communion, and essentially how he went back and looked at the history of it and didn't realize that the real presence of Christ being the Christ being present within it itself. Like, I don't remember his exact comments about it, but it was enough to where people kind of freaked out.
Like transubstantiation?
Yeah, like it was along like, hey, that the Catholics and the Eastern Orthodox, the Orthodox have had it maybe more right than us. And you get a little bit of that sense in this interview. And I think that's why they're having this conversation, is because Francis Chan took a lot of heat over that. As well, he should have, honestly. I think that it is concern. And even in this video, and we'll get into it, I still don't think he has a full understanding. I don't see how he does. But anyway, we're just going to react. I've got some points that we can react to. And I think that first I'm just going to play some at the beginning, and then we'll kind of get towards the end of it. But at the beginning, I think that it's just important to basically show that they have a concern with the way that Christians react to other Christians. And one of their concerns is that, hey, they don't act Christ-like towards other Christians. And they're harsh, and they try and say that this guy's this and this guy's that. The issue I have with this comment and this premise is there are some things that separate us that are fundamental primary issues. And I would say some of this stuff is primary issues, not secondary. Like he talks about he was a cessationist at one point in this interview, and then he says, well, I was a hardcore cessationist. I didn't believe in the gifts, and then I met some people that believed in the gifts, and wow, they were brothers, so now I believe, it's like I'm open to that. And it's like, okay, that's not the same thing here. We're talking about something completely different. That's a secondary issue. Anyway, I'm going to play this just to kind of give you the premise that they're coming from. And again, listen to it so that you can get the full context.
Why I really got addicted to your videos. I mean, I really don't watch very many because it breaks my heart watching some of this because I feel like it breaks the Lord's heart. And I think what bothered me a lot of times when I'd read or watch these videos of different people is that from my perspective, my understanding of Scripture, reading the Gospels over and over, I'm like, that doesn't sound like Jesus. That doesn't sound like the way he would talk.
Where is he?
That's what I was wondering.
Especially to the believers. This
I know
seem
sometimes
like
we're
what
bad at switching
Paul was
cameras, but
urging with all gentleness.
How does he
and
talk without
humility.
moving his mouth?
Yeah, it's like, is that all gentleness and humility? Bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain. I mean, at the end of the day, we're supposed to resemble Jesus. Like that's like, I want his humility. I want his.
He sounds
love.
like Jim Gaffigan, kind of. Just saying.
okay, so the premise is basically saying the way that people react online, and I would agree with him, by the way. There is a lot of
real
people.
Quick, I like that we were making fun of him as they were talking about that.
We're making fun of.
It was so distracting. Dude.
It's just Gavin Ortlund, and they never switch the camera.
I feel weird just watching him. Like I'm just watching him react. Like literally.
Hey, look, I can't help the camera work. They do eventually show Francis Chan.
Yeah.
That's not him. Remember, his last name is Chan. That's obviously not him. But anyway, the premise here is that, he sees the way that people reacted online and stuff like that. And it's like, I would agree with, and I agree with some of the stuff they say in here, that Christians they don't assume the best. They just, pile on and stuff like that. And we see social media is terrible for that. And I think social media is awful for Christians, quite honestly. Yeah. It's looking like it's really a pitfall for them. And hopefully this isn't an episode that's a pitfall. I just want to interact with it in a gracious way, but I also want to say that there are some things that we should stand up to. And Jesus did stand up and divide people with harsh truths. And so did Paul. I mean, so did Peter. I mean, you read the New Testament, it's not like anything harsh was never said.
Yeah.
If it was defending the gospel and you think it's a gospel issue, it's worth going to the mat for. Like, it's worth, like, fighting it out over that. And I just find it interesting because they keep, referencing the Reformation, and it's like, these men fought over the littlest things. Like, they keep saying, well, the reformers, like, man, Martin Luther was like arguing over some of the craziest stuff. But anyway, like, they definitely stood very firm. And it's like, I don't know. I do agree with them on a lot of instances. And I think that the only reason I played this clip was just as a premise that it's like, it almost seems to be setting, for the whole episode, it almost seems to be setting this criteria that if there's any disagreements that sound a little harsh or a little like, hey, no, you're not part of the kingdom, like, because you have the gospel wrong, like, that's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, but like, I would say this issue with the Eucharist is a dividing point if you take it the way that Catholics and Orthodox actually view it. I do say that we're not brothers and sisters. Doesn't mean that some of the people inside those, and they do reference that. They say, look, I don't judge every single person that's a Catholic by the fact that they're Catholic. I try and view them individually and see if they actually fall under that criteria. They do say that. And so they do distinguish that.
I do find it interesting, and later on in this podcast, I don't know if you have it clipped, that's why I'm going to say it, but Gavin makes the point. He's like, well, we want to be loving and the way we speak be very Christ-like to these people, but we don't want to be weak theologically. And
He does say that,
we
yeah.
want to stand firm on the truth and defend the truth vehemently, which I agree with. I think it's a great statement. The problem is it seems like that doesn't necessarily happen with Francis Chan.
Yeah.
And again, I want to think the best. Actually, a lot of the things Francis says in this episode, there's a lot of things he says that I like, and I'm like, oh, hey, amen. And then there's just he's kind of all over the place because he says a lot of things that we don't really like.
Well, I say
Yeah.
I don't like, but I mean, like, I don't know.
I walked away from this episode kind of thinking. I actually wrote something down. I was like, I admire both their graciousness.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like both of them, their hearts, you can tell, are.
Very
I mean, they're
kind and
very
loving.
kind, very,
Yes.
and like you listen to it, and I actually enjoyed listening to it.
Yeah, I did
because
too.
of how kind they are to one another, and both are very like charismatic guys,
Yeah.
and stuff, good talkers.
Yeah.
And but it goes. I think that's both their pitfalls. Is what you were talking about earlier of and I like Gavin Ortlund. I like a lot of things he says and stuff like that. But I think when we've critiqued some of his stuff in the past, and I think it is that of you have the guardrails of going. Who is it? Is it Vodi Bachman that used to say the 11th commandment was thou shalt be nice?
yeah.
And I think that's kind of their pitfall, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is Francis Chan goes, oh well, I met a believer who's charismatic, so maybe all the charismatics are okay.
Yeah.
Or I met a believer he used the illustration of a Catholic. He told me how he would share the gospel. They got the gospel right, and it's like, no, okay, you're going off into the ditch. Like there's guardrails for a reason.
Yeah.
It's not just it's very emotional, surface level evaluation. And I'm like, okay, you got to dig deeper. And going off of kind of what y'all are saying too, of there is a point too where you draw a line in the sand and say, no, I won't cross this. No matter,
Yeah.
even if we agree on the gospel, but there's still other issues that I won't give in just because you're a nice person.
I think that's something that we fell into in the Reformed community, is that as long as the gospel's there, and I think that we sometimes forget that there's other issues that they're related to the gospel in a distant sense, and it affects the gospel, but it's not something that somebody would say is the gospel. In other words, somebody can give me a perfect gospel, could say the gospel exactly right, and then deny the deity of Christ.
Yeah.
I would say he's not a brother, but yet technically he got the gospel right. If he was to go out and witness to someone, and he didn't mention that he doesn't believe in the
on the
deity of
surface
Christ.
level,
On the surface level, he could actually present the gospel. Well, there's still more criteria there.
And that's my note I took away from, because he says, oh, this Roman Catholic said this, and I do. We've talked about this many times. I think there is Roman Catholics who are
That are
believers,
truly saved.
who are
Yep.
truly saved, but it's terminology. It's like they might use all the exact they use saved by faith alone, but then when you dig into it, you realize, oh, it's actually not faith
By
alone.
grace. Yeah, they would say they're saved by grace alone.
Yeah,
But they don't mean the same thing that we do.
it's like they don't mean the same.
I mean, I would say though that what I've noticed about the Catholic Church and stuff is before I really learned more about it and stuff, I used to think it was like totally orderly. Like I used to think, okay, they have everything on lockdown. Like
they really don't.
Yeah, when I first heard
Michael
about
Knowles
it, I was
seems to
like,
think so.
Michael Knowles does think so.
I was like, man, every parish believes the same thing. They're
Yeah.
all teaching the same thing. Every priest is teaching the same thing. All the
Right.
people are believing in the same stuff.
Yeah.
Like whatever the Catholic, like that's that universal, like sort of grounded, orderly thing that is
Right.
promoted in the Catholic Church, which they do well in terms, not like it's a good thing, but like
Right.
they do well in terms of keeping and securing the doctrine that they have. But it really isn't as orderly as
I would agree.
because there's so many. I've just through my experience, I mean, I've seen so many different beliefs come out of the Catholic Church, like that aren't actually, like people aren't actually falling in line with it, or like people that don't actually believe like what the Pope is doing, or don't believe in like some of the things that just the church says that they believe, and then it's just confusing. I mean, I guess we shouldn't be surprised at the same time, because I mean, look at Protestantism.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely worse in terms of order. I mean, you have these denominations, but I think, that's just something that comes about when like we're talking about secondary issues.
Yeah.
There's certain things that break unity, and it doesn't necessarily mean that, all these people are unbelievers kicked out of the kingdom because they don't believe, so and so on a secondary issue.
Yeah.
But in some sense, like, we can't be in the same church, like, together with Presbyterians that believe in infant baptism, because that's something that bothers our consciences.
We could possibly be in the same church. We would just never be able to be involved in that.
Yeah.
Right?
It would affect how we worship.
It's just like, well, let's, let's do our own thing then. Okay.
Yeah.
So we can have a church, and it doesn't mean that we're against each other. I think in general, to give credit, like I think Francis Chan, very emotionally driven, very emotionally driven in his conclusions, his decisions, and all these things. He's just an emotional guy. He's a good guy, though. I think he's very kind.
Yeah, I do too.
But to give them credit, I guess, in a sense, I think there is something to that, of not assuming that all Catholics are the same, assuming all Eastern Orthodox are the same, and actually getting to know people on individual bases. I think that's a good thing, but at the same time, we need to have a discerning eye and say, but this isn't something that a church can function properly if we lock arms in this way.
I guess that
and we can't endorse that. We can't endorse that church.
I agree. It's the fact that it seems like there's a push for unity with these people where there shouldn't be any, in the sense that if you deny those core tenets of the Catholic faith, but yet you still say that you're a Roman Catholic, you're not a Roman Catholic. If you don't believe in the Pope, if you don't believe in the Mass, which is mentioned in this, then you're not a Roman Catholic. You're a Protestant.
Yeah, according to the print.
Yeah.
And on paper, you're not.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, it just seems like the reason why I'm saying this about this particular episode is because they're particularly mentioning the Eucharist quite a bit. The Eucharist is, the main thing that they seem to be talking about throughout, like, not totally, they're talking about unity and stuff like that, but all this came about because of the talk of the Eucharist, and it seems like for Francis that this is a secondary issue, that the Eucharist and how they view it as Roman Catholics and as Orthodox, like, this is a secondary issue. I think this is a primary issue, I would say. That's my belief, but I can tell you why too. And I think that it is one that truly buys into a false gospel. If you view the Mass and the Eucharist the way that they do, now I know Orthodox is the same way. You could have many different views and all this stuff, but the bottom line is like, if you don't venerate icons and stuff like that, then, well, they would say you're not part of the church. They would anathematize you. And they would say, no, you're cursed. You're not part of the true church. Rome is supposed to do that, but
that's something
they're ever
that
changing.
Gavin Ortlund brought up too.
Yeah.
The venerating icons.
Yeah. I think that it's just, anyway, let me play this next one.
Well, real quick on this last, I just wanted to say one thing I did really appreciate about, I forgot to mention this a while ago. In that clip, they talk about, funny enough, they bring up like podcasts and stuff like that. These people going out and doing like what we would say like discernment ministry.
Yeah.
And I did actually think their kind of like advice there was pretty good.
I actually wrote down that timestamp.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ended up putting it on here, but I wanted to talk about it.
I mean, the summary was is they just both focused on, and I was actually, I was happy, which I knew Gavin Ortlund kind of is, but submitting yourself under a church and not saying like, obviously, like our podcast isn't really submitted under a church, or like, you can have a podcast, but they're saying going out and teaching, and you're putting yourself in a place of authority, but then, and we've talked about this with like celebrity pastors and stuff like that, where it's like, but then you don't know, hey, what church are these guys a part of, or are they under any kind of you know,
Are they
submitting
even in a church?
Are they even
Right.
in a church? Are they submitting themselves to any authority? You know, and
Yeah.
stuff. And I do think that's important because you see that a lot nowadays with the rise of podcasts like this and the rise of like, okay, well, you still need to be accountable to somebody.
Yeah,
And-
and the only reason I'm even reacting to this is just because one of the fears that I have that seems like a really big push right now, and I've mentioned it a couple times before, is it seems like especially since it seems like it's gotten like moved to a hyperspeed level of since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, that there's this sense of like unity just in Christianity altogether. The Roman Catholics, the Orthodox, hey man, we just all need to unify. We all just need to unify. And there seems to be this real push for that, so much so that even the primary issues are kind of being, okay, well, yeah, but maybe they don't mean that. Maybe, and I think that it's a hard time to kind of deal with this stuff because it's like, I agree with the heart of these men in this. Like, I'll say it, like, I agree with their heart as far as wanting to be, one of the things that they say later on that I loved hearing them say was, man, be filled with the love of the Lord before you go and you confront anybody or you have any kind of disagreement with anyone.
Yeah.
Make sure it's done with love and out of respect and out of like, you know, and I think that we definitely need more of that for sure. And that's, hopefully we're coming across as that in even this podcast, because I don't want to sit there and I'm not judging these men and saying, oh, they have terrible intentions. I guess I would just say a warning is that to sit there and make some of the comments about the Eucharist here by Francis Chan, I think that I want to say that maybe I get the impression that he still doesn't quite understand what the Eucharist is in Orthodox and Catholicism. Maybe because of the way he talks about it. That's all I'm saying. And
I think so. And he makes a statement too. One thing I thought too. He says, because he says Gavin changed his mind.
Yes.
And he says, and you know, he's like, I look back and I disagree with like 90% of what I said in that statement. And
no,
then
he said he agreed with 90% of what he said.
agreed with
10%
okay,
that he-
and 10%. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me. I want to hear that 10%. Maybe he has. I don't keep up with him. But I do. I would like to know because I'm like, because that 10% might be the very important part.
Well,
you know?
the issue that I have, I guess, is that when Gavin Ortlund asked him, okay, what's your views now on the Eucharist? Let me see. I can look it up real quick because I think that he says, that the point is that he doesn't like the fact of, let me see here.
Got a meme somewhere in my notes here.
Okay, hold on. I've got it. Let me pull this up real quick because this was something that kind of made my ears perk up, is when he says why he doesn't assign to it the way that he did before.
But in some of your teachings, you did point out, like,
There he is.
get that. I get that. And we are a mess in so many ways. But if you go to that...
Why does he look like that?
I don't want to call it the other side, even if you swing
He looked disgusted.
too far. Now you have to believe that Francis is actually accursed by God because he doesn't venerate icons. He's not worthy to come to the table because he's not a part of this particular church. And he's not welcome to the table, nor are all these, saints to me. To me, I've met a lot of people, and
I thought my phone
the most
paused during that
spirit-filled
moment.
person I've ever met, Christ-like, would be, in my opinion, Johnny Erickson Tata.
Yeah,
Oh, I love that woman.
me too.
I just
I didn't really get where he was going here.
So here's.
I mean, I don't disagree with what he's saying. It's
I
just
don't
kinda
disagree
all
with
over
what
the
he's
place.
saying, but here's. I know that this is like, well, do you disagree with what he's saying? I don't disagree with what he's saying, but the reason why he disagrees with his view on the Eucharist before is now not because the Eucharist is a re-sacrificing of Christ.
Yeah.
That it is actually Christ being re-sacrificed in a non-bloody sacrifice again and again and again, which is blasphemous. That's not the issue. And that's why I say I don't think he understands what the Mass is. His reason is because if I buy into their version of it, then I have to say all these other people are out.
Yeah.
That's not a good reason.
What was really weird to me is like
Yeah.
I was like I thought they were going to talk about this, and it's like they
Yeah.
really hardly ever talked about it.
I think that it's not a good reason. And I say that I trying to be kind because I don't want to read into too much of what he's saying. But the point is like, if I'm going to sit there and say, oh, what changed my mind? It's not going to be, oh, because of the consequences of me believing that way. It's going to be, does it line up with Scripture? Can I read Hebrews and get through that with saying that Jesus can be re-sacrificed again and again and again and again? Which, I mean, I don't know how you make it through that book as a Roman Catholic or Orthodox. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know how in the world, and it seems like there's not a understanding of that. Because one of the comments that he makes, and I didn't have time to find it, was he said that he feels like, and I do agree with him on this, by the way, is that in Protestant circles that it was just always a tacked on thing, that it wasn't about
It wasn't elevated, is what he said.
It wasn't elevated
to the importance of what it should be. I agree with that.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Of where he's
Now-
like, oh, if I have more, because he made the point. He's like, if I have more, oh, my sermon's going a little long.
Yeah.
We'll just go ahead and finish. Okay,
I've got the soundbite. Let's
Walk in
play
there.
it because I agree with him.
This is sacred. That like it seems like the most sacred. I want to be careful. I don't want to overspeak, but to me, is it the most sacred thing we do now? Is partake, and then all these years of like casually taking it, or even as a pastor leading it and going, we don't have time. My sermon went over. We'll skip communion this week or skip it this month and push it off another week. And it's like, oh gosh, I was so wanting to make one more point to my sermon that to push off. So that's where the sacred side of it. And then that's what got me studying and going, wow, they did really treat this as sacred. And then it really became about preaching and preaching styles and who's the best. And suddenly the tables pushed off to the side. So in my opinion,
I agree that with him in the sense that he is seeing a real problem, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with
I
that.
think his solution, though, he's just gone down the wrong path, really. Because it's like there it is a problem that it's not there's too low of a view of the Lord's Supper in Protestantism as a whole.
Yeah, we can't broad brush that. I mean, I think our church holds it, at higher esteem.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you can hold it too high in esteem.
Yeah, right.
So I think that's true. I think obviously Eastern Orthodox and Catholicism definitely shows that voice crack. Definitely shows that esteem and veneration they have for it, but I mean, it doesn't mean like, oh, they're right about transubstantiation and re-sacrificing Christ. Like that's a big issue. And it's just like he's just made a big jump here.
That's what
it's like. Here's the problem. Boom. It's got to be this.
So they have it right, and it's like the issue that I have, I guess, is that again, I agree with everything he said there, But he gets to, and I don't have the soundbite, and man, I wish I could have found it before we had it, but it's where he says that he loved when he was in like an Orthodox service or something, that everybody bowed as the bread came in and like in reverence. And it's like, again, it's like, I think he misunderstands what's going on. I'm thinking the best.
I think so too. I think he's misunderstanding,
because they're not bowing before that bread because, the real presence of Christ is here with us. Us as Protestants would say, at our church, we say, no, the presence of Christ is with us. It's his table. We come together around his table. He is with us as we take this communion. But he's taking it as in like, that's kind of what the real presence is there. And that's kind of what he says. It's like, no, they're bowing before that bread because they're saying that is Christ. That is the body of Christ. They're bowing before an idol. And that's what concerns me, is that it's just like, kind of like, I wish that we loved communion like the Orthodox and like the Catholics, and they bow before. They're not bowing before Christ. They're bowing before bread and wine. It's literally idolatry. And so it's like, because they think it's the actual body and blood of Christ. And
you know what I thought of when I was listening? It's the same thing of what's driving when you hear people that leave a Protestant church and go to an Orthodox or Catholic. They're like, I want to go to church, high church, look, they just have reverence, and they have, and meanwhile they ignore all the very liberal versions of those too, and act like those don't exist. But usually their critique of Protestantism is Big Eva. Is they go, okay, well, look at these churches, they go to a church that has a very low view across the board. So then they kind of broad brush, throw the baby out with the bathwater, and they go to the, like Sam was saying, the other extreme, and go, okay, well, they seem to be the only ones that have reverence, so they must be right. And then they just go all in on that and go, okay, well, this must be right because they actually have reverence, and not realizing, like you were saying, it's too far to where it's actual idolatry, where they're bowing down to, for, the bread and the wine, and then, Mary in the back, and they just act like they don't. But
yeah, I mean, it's like when you have to store, like, the reason why Martin Luther, when he was still Roman Catholic, was so nervous about doing communion the first time that he had to, was, what do you do if you spill the God on the floor? Like, this is the blood of Christ. What if I mess this up? And it's like, that was his concern, was actually holding Christ in his eyes. And and I don't agree with Martin Luther even after he was.
He's stuck with transubstantiation all through his life.
Well, it was a different version of it, where it's so all around, and it's a weird take on it, but it was. It's what Lutherans still believe. It is different. I think, I don't know enough about it.
It's a little bit different, but it's kind of like they're trying to be as Catholic as they can without
being Catholic.
They're like, we see a little bit of flaws in that, and we'll walk it back. Like, we'll change how the structure of the sentence, but not really change anything.
Yeah. Here we. Let me see what I got here. I think that this one's on. Let me see.
Have these discussions about theology with people that disagree with us. Can we have these moments of agreeing on the love of Christ and enjoying his presence and just deepening our enjoyment of his love together before we talk about some of these other issues?
Yeah.
See, this is what I'm wondering. What other issues?
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I think that this is a dividing point. And one of because not saying that like there aren't Catholics that are truly saved. I'm not saying that. But if you truly think that every time you go to mass that there's a re-sacrifice by priest on your behalf, like how is this any different than Hebrews, men going back to the sacrificial system? Having priests do sacrifices on your behalf? Mm-hmm. Was Hebrews not clear? And that's my concern is like, hey, before we have all these, conversations about the Eucharist and stuff like that, let's have unity in the love of Christ. Well, brother, I can only have unity with you in that sense if you truly are a believer. And Hebrews and John have no issue with saying that if you go that way, brother, you're going back to a system that's dead, and you have you fell from grace. You've abandoned Christ. You've actually stomped over his blood and body to get out. And it's like, do you think that he can be re-sacrificed again and again?
And the parallels are there,
yeah,
between them. But it wouldn't be totally the same in the sense that, it's not like. It's not
those
like,
people are going back, whereas these people might have just been raised.
And these people might just think too that I think Catholics probably think that Christ's sacrifice was sufficient, whereas in the first century church they were like, no, that's not sufficient.
Yeah,
but it's just an inconsistency.
Yeah, like
you're not being consistent with that. Like you can't just like say you think it's sufficient and then he's being re-sacrificed because it doesn't make sense.
Right.
A lot of the time. You'll hear like Luther's Zwingli thing whenever they were going over debating this whole topic.
Yeah.
Luther saying, "This is my body. This is my blood.
Yeah.
It's real. It's really it."
Yeah.
And the response to that is really like one sacrifice once and for all.
Yeah.
It's like once and for all.
Yeah.
The ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah. The issue I have, I guess the concern is not that Francis Chan is some major heretic or anything like that. It's not, I'm not trying to harp on him. Like I said, this guy's heart, I'll be honest with you, I wish my heart was more like this guy's.
Yeah.
Both of them, honestly. I wish I had more kindness in my heart towards people. Yeah. Like they think the best, it seems like, to a fault almost.
Very charitable, very
charitable.
Very
I could use more of that. And so, look, there are things that I see in these men's lives that I'm like, man, I wish I was more like that. And there was a lot of stuff said in this episode. That's why I say go back and listen to it. That is great. Mm-hmm. It's really stuff that needs to be said. And I don't want to harp. My concern is that you're essentially telling people, look, if you want to be Orthodox, we have the same gospel. Yeah. That's where you're kind of left here. Is I think that the whole premise, I'll be honest with you, and this is with all due respect to Gavin Ortlund. I love Gavin Ortlund, and he's done a lot of good things, and I think a lot of his episodes are great. I have an issue with the way that he uses truth unites. Because truth divides. It doesn't just unite. And it was said in this episode, truth unites. I love that. Truth always unites. And they make it sound like truth always unites. No, it doesn't. Truth divides error from truth. It divides people. It doesn't bring people together. It does. The ones that are assigning to the truth, it does. And so I think that the premise is just messed up that, hey, if I just say truth, it unites. It's like, well, no, it just doesn't. And it's like, I know where he's going with that. He's talking about, I know Gavin Ortlund is talking about between true believers and stuff like, I get it. Like, I want to be gracious.
Even then there's still, we talked about difference in conscience of Presbyterian Baptists. Like, okay, if you were Presbyterian in a Baptist church and you couldn't baptize your baby.
Yeah, that would be a big deal.
I'm struggling with that right now. Like, how am I supposed to? But it's like it would be a big deal, and it would be a dividing issue. Now, it wouldn't be a thing that would that would kick you out of the body or whatever like that. Right. But it's like, okay, if you were Presbyterian, I would understand. Like, I've talked to guys who Presbyterian. I was like, okay, I'd understand why you wouldn't want to go to a Baptist church, because your conscience is telling you, I need to do this thing. and they're not allowing you to do that thing. Well,
Right.
that is a dividing line. You know, it's like that is a sense of, and then to go even further of like, especially with like, we can't unite ourselves with people who have a differing gospel.
Yeah.
It's like, and back to what I was saying earlier too, is I think both of these guys' flaw, if I could say, is being too nice. They're going too far to where they're so gracious and they assume where it's like, well, we just can all get along and it's all happy and fine and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, it really isn't that way though.
I would say this though. I would rather deal with men like this that err on this side than the other.
Yeah, me too. But I go back to is like a lot of these guys always want to focus on, oh, well, look at, they always point to, look how Christ handled people. And I'm like, well, yeah, Christ also divided
Yes, he
the
did.
nation of Israel. Divided.
I know.
He said, daughters, you'll be estranged from your mother, fathers from your son. It's like he knew the gospel would divide.
Yes.
And it's, it's like, so it's not just this like, okay, as long as we can, it's almost superficial is what I view it as. It's like this superficial agreement of like, we just don't talk about what we really disagree with, or we can disagree and we just kind of overlook it. And I'm like, yeah, but that only goes so far. That's okay when we're talking about whether you should, take communion out of a wine glass or a little mini cup or something. It's like stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like versus first degree issues of like the gospel and things like that, the deity of Christ. It's like, okay, well then you can't overlook these things.
Yeah. So Gavin Ortlund, this is just an opinion. Maybe add a question mark after Truth Unites in that emblem. And I'm kidding. I mean, it's just Truth Unites. Oh,
That's how
Today,
Truth Unites.
Today on Truth Unites,
I'm kidding.
we are going to ask the question of whether does Truth Unite?
I actually, again, I appreciate these men's heart, but
be a great
I have
satire.
a last little one pulled up, and I don't even remember what it says. But
Sometimes, there just seems like there's a generation that's like, I don't understand why we have to be separate. Why even Francis and Gavin are talking about the Protestants and the Orthodox and the Rome. There's something in them that's like, I want to learn from the traditions. There's such beautiful things in some of these traditions, and they have upheld these things. Why can't we do that and do that? And, like a friend the other day who's a known, leader, he's like, gosh, I just love the reverence of the Mass, and why can't we do that? And
see, that's what I'm talking about, the reverence of the Mass.
Mm-hmm.
The Mass is an abomination. Yeah. I don't know how else to say it. If you truly take the Mass for what it is, a re-sacrifice to reintroduce grace into your life. Hey, look, you've committed sins. You need this to inject it into you. Mm-hmm. This is a way of, we're going to re-sacrifice Christ on your behalf again and again and again as the priesthood. I'm sorry, guys, this is something worth fighting for. It's worth dividing over. And again, I have maybe I don't have the best understanding of Roman Catholicism, but I'm pretty sure I have that right on the Mass. I'm pretty sure that that's dead on. But that is just not... that's something we can't sign on to. That's something that we can't have unity on. That's not something that we can take in and say, I love their traditions and I want to bring it in because they have reverence for the Mass. What?
Yeah.
Like,
It's really turning a blind eye to it.
Yeah,
almost everything else.
I would say, okay.
I think he has a Protestant view of the Eucharist, and he's saying, I think that what he's doing is he's looking at Roman Catholicism and Orthodox, and I think that he's saying, look at their reverence for it, and he's applauding that.
Yeah.
Without realizing that they don't have a Protestant view of it.
Yeah, and when he talks about traditions and stuff,
Yeah.
like I said, it still goes back to this. And Sam said earlier, like it's a very emotional take on it. It's a very like, wouldn't it be nice if we could all get along?
Yeah.
And we would be like, oh yeah, it would be nice if we could all get along, but you can only get along if you agree on the big issues. And it's like, because imagine a church where, okay, we all come together, Catholic, all this stuff, and you got people over here on this side of the church bowing down to Mary, a statue of Mary, praying to Mary, and this side of the church praying to
co-redemptress.
Yeah, and then like it's all different, I'm like, it's like we just need to bring in all these traditions, and I want to be like, what traditions?
Perfect,
which ones?
Perfect example. We just had an episode release on the prophet Elijah.
Yeah.
Did you see Elijah looking at the prophets of Baal and going, but they're so reverent. They're reverent. And I know that's extreme. And they're, hold on. Well, Catholics are
they're reverent cutting themselves up.
And it's like, hold on now. It's like, okay, you can say that's an extreme example. And it is an extreme example. It was meant to be a little funny. But seriously, do we look at just flat out false religions that claim kind of Christianity? A Mormon.
Yeah.
Are they reverent? Or... I mean, we could go all day.
I mean, even ones who claim we would lump in with the evangelical.
Right. I can look at any type of discipline and say, oh, well, it's cool that they have the self-control to be able to be disciplined in this area or that, and I can maybe I can take that, but you still have to ask the question, why are they being disciplined in that area? Why are they being reverent? What are they being reverent towards? And what they're being reverent towards in this case is not a good thing.
I would also say, things aren't always how they seem on the surface. And so you don't know that they're actually being reverent.
No.
I think
the appearance of reverence.
For what we can, you can't put a number on it, but maybe most of the people in there are just scared of going to hell. It's not like a respect. They might be like Martin Luther and they hate God.
Or it's the tradition of this is what I do.
Yeah.
Just it has nothing to do with reverence
going
at all,
about it. And you can make anything irreverent, really. And I don't know. Looks can be deceiving, and I don't think we should just go off looks and be like, oh, they must be really reverent over this. I think a lot of them, if they believe what the Catholic Church has written down and believes in, they're not being reverent. That's not reverence. That's not respect. That's not a respectful fear of the Lord. If anything, it's either just mindless rote just habit, or it's they're just scared and frightened of God, which they should be, but it's more of a like Martin Luther when he was a monk. He said, "Sometimes I hate God, love God, I hate God."
Yeah,
like he's terrified.
Yeah.
And
I'm done. No.
Oh, I was just saying, and I think of you were saying, like, I think that's a really good point. It is a false reverence, because it's like how can if they truly believe their teachings. It's like, how could you have a reverence for Christ when you say what the Pope says is on level ground? It's like how can you have a reverence for Christ when you say, I can get into heaven by praying to his mother? It's like it's not a true reverence. It's traditions, but it's not a true reverence.
I don't know. My concern is that it seems like it's like, hey, these guys have it. I think that they have had it figured out more than the Protestants, and that seems to be kind of where Francis Chan is leaning towards. And he cites like back in the day when he used to be a hardcore cessationist. I already mentioned that, but and then he found out that there were cessationists that were true brothers in Christ, and it just changed his whole view on it. And look, I'm not a true cessationist, like hardcore cessationist at all. I really am not. But it's not dictated by the fact that I met someone. That doesn't change my mind that I meet someone that's nice and seems like this or that.
Or even if you're really good friends with somebody.
I change my mind because I'm convinced by Scripture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we have to go. All through that interview, it was, well, I met these guys, and it just seems, and both of them are talking about, well, I look at where the gospel's proclaimed and where it seems like the Spirit is moving. Well, who gets to decide where the Spirit's moving? That's subjective in a sense. And it's like, what do you mean by the Spirit moving? Is it because people are speaking in tongues? Is it because people are claiming that miracles are happening, just like the Catholics do? The Catholics, claim all these miracles. They claim that this statue of Mary's weeping and stuff like that. Is that it? Like, what are you talking about when you say these things? And so it's like, no, we worship in spirit and truth. Mm-hmm. Our truth is dictated by Scripture. Now, and Gavin Ortlund did point this out, and so did Francis Chan, I guess, is that as Protestants, we have a more robust view of Scripture, and that's what dictates what we believe. And they even say, I forgot the exact words, but they do mention that. And so it's like, but man, it's like these other sects, like the Roman Catholic, and the Orthodox, there's major errors. And it's not just, again, like I would agree with them that there are men and women inside those churches that are saved in spite of it, that are true believers. I would say that. And I did appreciate that. Hey, look, you need to look at the person one-on-one and not just assume that they're automatically not just because they claim that they're whatever. Yeah, talk to them. That's fine. It's just, but let's not act like we can hold hands with Roman Catholics and Orthodox. I think my opinion is that this is a dividing issue to the utmost.
Yeah.
It's a gospel issue. It really is. And maybe you disagree with me. Maybe I'm being too harsh. I'm concerned that it seems like there's this movement and push. Let's all hold hands, kumbaya. And it's like, no, we must be guided by Scripture, not because we met a nice Roman Catholic. That's all I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if y'all want any closing thoughts or if that's it.
Good.
That's all I got.
All right. Catch us next time. Check out all of our, we're going to start trying to post some more shorts, maybe not here in the next couple weeks.
Like Nike shorts, Adidas shorts.
Anyway.
The merch.
Cargo shorts.
Shorts.
All right. Anyway, join us next time. We're out.
See you.